it hurts. And I'm too sexy for Milan, too sexy for Milan, New York and Japan.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This week's episode of Doing It with Styles. And we're really glad you're here. And I want to thank you again for your support of the show, your support of the station, and the other shows on the station. And with the end of the year coming and tax season just around the corner, and we all need money, especially us small business owners. You find yourself in a bind once in a while. Well, I found the guy that's going to help you out. I'd like to welcome Dave Drogos. Is that how it's pronounced?
Absolutely. Thank
you.
Woohoo!
All right. And you are with Pacific Coast Capital.
Yes, I am.
Dave, thank you for coming in. I
Thank you,
appreciate
John.
it.
Love it.
And
Love
you
it.
came all the way over from California just to do this, right?
Just to do this.
You're just amazing.
Thanks.
So, Pacific Coast Capital.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about Pacific Coast Capital. What is Pacific Coast Capital?
Okay. Pacific Coast Capital is myself and two partners and a small team of people who are lenders to small business and entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So what we do is we're asset based, which means we lend off of the business assets. But what we're really doing is we're making loans to people, right?
Right.
And we're helping them grow. We're helping them turn around their business. We're helping them with their cash flow. And we consider ourselves to be a boutique. You know, I've done small lending, I've done large lending, and I love working with entrepreneurs and help them really get their foot up and a hand up. And so, you know, we're white glove. We provide a lot of service. We give systems. We help them with all of the business issues that they tend to have on top of money. Because everyone's money is green.
Right.
Right. So the difference that we make is basically in the service that we provide, and using between myself and my two partners, beside being old, we probably have over 100 years in the business of lending to entrepreneurs and small business
That's
owners.
all together, not each.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm old, but not that old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really, it's almost a lost art, I believe. And in my history, I went back and I moved up market, and then you start dealing with, middle market companies from professional management. Well, that's not where I cut my teeth. And what Pacific Coast Capital focuses on are those individuals who are trying to grow their business. They're struggling day to day, or they have an opportunity for growth. And the first thing they do is they knock on the door of their bank.
Right.
Right. And it used to be you'd walk in with the branch manager and he would say, "Let me help you, John, because I can help give you the money. I know your business. It's around the corner. You take care of everyone in the neighborhood. You've got a great reputation." That doesn't happen anymore.
No, absolutely not.
I don't know. Now you call a 1-800 number, you go online, and they put you into a spreadsheet, into a model that I can't figure out. Now, banks, they're lending grandma and grandpa's money.
Right.
So they have to be conservative. So if you go to the bank and you say, "Help me grow my business," and they say, "Sorry, you don't qualify."
Right.
What do?
But if they're just giving you money, I mean, if you need money in your business,
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why.
Yes.
In other words, if you're in the contracting business,
Yes.
and so you got a big job coming up, but you got to front end the job.
Exactly.
So you need enough capital to get you to the point where you can get your first draw. Things like that, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
You've got it exactly right. So you have to make probably 6 to 8 payrolls.
Right.
You got to buy your materials.
Right.
You got your trucks and transportation and insurance and
permits,
all of that.
All of that.
Right. And so now you're doing, whatever you're doing a month, and now you've got this huge contract. How do you fund that?
Right.
Right. You go to the bank. They say, "Well, John, that's a lot of leverage. That's a lot of risk."
Right.
So you come to a company like ours, and we say yes. So if we give you money, you're going to be able to do this job. You have a positive margin. You're going to be profitable using our money. Let us help you. Right. And what we do is we spin it based on your receivables. So when you bill, we use a percentage of that.
Right.
So it's not based on how much net worth you have. It's how many good assets you can generate. So we marry the cash flow of the business, right? So we accelerate it so you can pay all of your salaries and your costs and your rent and all of those things and be able to not worry about getting the job done.
Okay, so let's talk about assets for a minute.
Yes.
From your perspective, when you're talking about assets, are you talking about physical assets that the company owns, or are you talking about their receivables or possible receivables?
The answer to that is yes.
Good. Okay.
Right? So the intangibles.
See how easy that was?
So receivables are, of course, intangible assets. Those spin, they convert to cash very quickly. So I would say predominantly we're accounts receivable driven, right? Because that's the one that's, you know, the value of them and they turn rapidly. So we can scale you up and continue to help you grow and take off.
Well, and that was going to be my next question, is that, okay, but I don't want to continue at the rate that I am. I want to be able to take the next step. I want to expand my business, reach a larger audience, increase my my receivables.
Perfectly.
And that's what you guys do.
That's exactly what we do.
Okay.
And so, okay, let's take that. So now as you're invoicing, right, we're giving you instant gratification, 85% on those receivables. Right. But guess what, John? You don't have open lines of credit for that growth with your suppliers.
Right.
So we do an inventory loan or a purchase order loan that says, okay, in addition to the receivables, let's provide you the capital, the money you need to buy those so that you can complete the job and run at a higher rate. And once you're over your break even, right?
Right.
Your gross profit drops to the bottom line. So if you have a, construction, you have a 30%, 35% gross margin, and I help you do another $500,000 a month, right? Now all of a sudden there's another 150 in your pocket.
Right.
That's what we do.
Right. But that's awesome. Because like you say, most lenders or the big banks, they're just here to give you money and collect the interest.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's, most businesses don't need that. They need somebody to hold their hand a little bit and say, John, if you do this, you can do this. And here's how you can take the next step. Here's how you can improve your operation. Right. Here's how you can streamline what you're doing. Here's how you can expand. Is that what we're talking about?
Oh, no, that's value add, isn't it, John?
Right.
So yes, that's exactly what we do. Again, all that experience, being old has its benefits, right?
Right.
One of which is we see other businesses who have gone and done the same thing. So let's take, for instance, exactly what you said. You're growing your business. And, after 90 days at that higher level, you still don't have any profits coming in. What happened, John? Maybe you didn't bid that large job correctly.
Right.
Maybe you put too much overhead in, right?
Right.
Maybe your costing is too high, right? So at that point, we're identifying, we know the cash flow cycle of your business, right? So we come in and we say, okay, after 90 days, that 150 per month should be on in your bank.
Right.
And if it's not there, you've done something wrong. And and I know, when you take on a new job, there's a learning curve.
Right.
There's also overtime. You can get destroyed with overtime. Right?
That fast.
Oh, it's amazing,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, those are the type of things that we try to keep you in control of, and we're on your side. So I always said, if your business is doing well, John, my loan is very safe.
You bet.
If you're in trouble, I'm in trouble.
Right.
We consider ourselves to be great partners. Bad things happen sometimes through no fault of your own.
Pandemic.
How about that one?
That shut me down for 4 weeks.
How about
4
that
months.
one?
Yeah.
It's a showstopper.
Almost destroyed my business.
It destroyed a lot of businesses. Yeah. And I can tell you that when something happens like that, we don't panic. So let me give you an example. In my previous business that I sold to a bank, we had a company that was doing really well. And then the pandemic hit.
Right.
COVID shut down their manufacturing 3 different times. Their production manager, 38-year-old with 2 kids, passed away.
Oh, man.
So now everybody's running for the hills. And we sat down with them and we said, hey, we love your business. Let us help you. But we couldn't actually get in. So we had to kind of plan a cash flow to get into the loan. And then because they were having trouble and they were losing money at the time, we had to say, okay, let's do this. I'm going to give you that additional piece, a PO line, so you can buy the materials, right? The
Right.
receivables help pay the payroll. We'll help you buy the materials so you can get back to your break even and grow. Fast forward 2 years. Their business went from doing $1 million a month to doing $5 million a month. They paid us out of profits.
Wow.
They were almost out of business when they came to us, and now they're a raging success with big reserves.
There's an interesting story that I heard a number of years ago about, you talk about bidding jobs and, figuring
Yes.
out how to, and it was about two brothers that were here in Vegas, and they catered to the horse industry here.
Oh, yeah.
And so what they were doing is they were going over to Arizona.
Yep.
And they were buying bales of hay.
Yep.
And then they were bringing it back here and they were selling it.
Right.
But they couldn't make any money. And they were buying the bales for $5 a bale there, and they brought it here and they sold it for $5 a bale. And the one brother says, I know what we're doing wrong. I know how we can make this work.
What could they?
And the brother says, okay, what is it? He goes, we need a bigger truck. and it's funny. It's a funny story.
Yes.
But so many businesses do that, and they think that this is the way that we're supposed to do it. Or, the old thing about the good news is we've been doing this for 20 years. The bad news is we've been doing this for 20 years or doing it this way.
Well, John, I can tell you're an entrepreneur because that's exactly what we look at.
Yeah.
Through the pandemic, especially, the government finally took care of and helped small businesses.
Yeah.
I think the PPP was the greatest thing. I wish there was less fraud in it, but the PPP
right.
was the greatest thing I've ever seen. No one except lenders and people who support them. The government never helps small business. They help small business, right? But with that, it bred a couple things. Number one, people weren't having to watch the businesses close, and then inflation kicked in. And they kept talking about transitory, right? It wasn't transitory. And so over the last 5 years, I've seen a number of businesses doing exactly that, right? Their margin dissipated, their costs rose, they didn't check their costing, and their business was tightening and they were starting to fail because of it or troubled because of it. And literally that was one of the things we've talked about is, okay, inflation rose over the last few years 19%. How much have you raised your prices?
Right.
Right. And it's not once. They've had to put in 2 or 3 different price increases. And if you wait, you're going to fund losses, right? Until you raise your prices and get them correct. And so we look at that. We look at costing. We look at one of the other things that scared me, John, is people put in inventory control systems, ERP systems.
Right.
And I've seen more issues where they keep adding supplies into their inventory and they're artificially increasing their assets and showing a profit when they're not making
Right.
it. And I think I can point to 3 or 4 people. I said, take a look at your supplies. That's $50,000 a month. When have you relieved it? And they look in their system, they go, we didn't.
Yeah.
Right? So simple things. These are basic things. But when you're trying to run a business and you put in a system, you expect it to be correct. And it's just not always, it doesn't always do that. So there's a lot of pitfalls. I mean, I'm in business. I make payrolls.
Sure.
I've made payrolls. I've had people beat me about the head and shoulders, right?
Right.
They're coming from all different angles. And so we all make mistakes. Let's find the metrics and have the discipline to review it to help you become successful. And there's very little margin for error in today's world.
And you're right there. And one of the mistakes that I think a lot of small businesses make, especially, is they start making money.
Yes.
And they don't know how to control it.
Yes.
They go out and they buy new equipment. They buy a truck. They do this. They do that. And before you know it, they go, wait a minute. Where's all my profit? and that gets them in trouble.
Oh,
I had worked for a software company that I was doing consulting with them. I was still in the construction business, and it was a construction management software.
Yes.
And so I was kind of on loan to them to help develop the program and get it out on the marketplace. And The owner of the company was brilliant as far as I was concerned. I mean, not only as a software person, but as a businessman. He had probably a dozen opportunities of people coming to him wanting to give him money.
Yes.
And he told us all, he said, I'm not taking it, because as soon as we get them big bucks, we're going to stop trying to do better.
Right.
As long as we're hungry and we're surviving, we're going to try to be better. And that's what I want. I want us to get better. I want us to get better. And that's what he did. I mean, he did get to a point where, okay, we've done everything we can do. Let's have fun now,
I love it.
And I thought that was smart, because, I'm sure you've seen this as a lender, that people come in and they want the money, but now that they've got the money, they kind of kick back and, well, I got plenty of money now. I don't have to worry about going out and keeping the pipeline full, or, watching my inventory or my processes.
Yes.
And yeah.
It's so interesting. I think in my experience, everyone starts aggressive with, you get the money, they're using it right. But to your point, they hit their sweet spot in business.
Yeah.
And every business has it. Otherwise, you have to put in more equipment, more inventory, more overhead, more systems, and there's a huge cost. So once you get to your sweet spot, I tell people stop, accumulate reserves. And then if you want to take the next run, do it.
Right.
But don't say, it's okay to leverage and shoot for the stars, but you should plateau. You should build your reserves and then go again.
Because otherwise you get into trouble and you lose control.
Absolutely.
Because you haven't gotten it. And that's why when we were talking earlier about how I set this all up.
Yes.
And it's I didn't increase my assets until I could pay cash for them.
Nice.
I didn't go into debt so I could get more cameras or get more lights or get this. I grew as I was able to grow.
Wow.
And because of that, when the pandemic hit, that's the only reason the only debt that I had at that time was my lease on my space.
Got it.
And I mean, when that happened, I was ready to go, you know what, I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. But when I was finally able to go back to work and open up again, I thought, well, you know what, I still got 6 months on my lease. I got to pay.
Right.
So I might as well open back up. And, the people came back.
Of course.
And so I'm glad that I did that. But it was also, if I had a lot of debt for equipment and things like that, that would have been the end for me.
Absolutely.
I would not have been able to survive that. So,
it brings me to, we finance high tech, low tech, no tech, manufacturing, distribution, service, but manufacturing is where I cut my teeth.
right.
And machine shops and printers used to be able to leverage up with equipment, and people get infatuated with new and better and faster.
Yeah.
And that leverage, those payments that you have to every month you make, you have a dip in sales, you got a real problem.
Yeah.
And so, we also do finance equipment in conjunction with our revolving lines of credit. But a lot of those shops will borrow money on the equipment on a short-term window. So in other words, I need a 5-axis machine to do this job for Boeing, right?
Right.
And they know that contract, they will have paid for that equipment by the time the contract expires. And then they're in an unbeatable position. I love entrepreneurs are brilliant.
Right.
And the only time you get in trouble, myself included, is if you try to go too fast for too long.
Yeah.
Right. Eventually something's going to get you.
You have to catch up with yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
And let it come. And then you have to build it before it comes. And, my first business, I managed and I bought, and then I grew rapidly, and I sold to a bank, and I did a bunch of things with the bank.
But you must have done something right if a bank bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we definitely did a lot because we had a bunch of loyal accounts.
Right.
It's really hard to sell our relationship, our service on the front end.
That's and people don't realize, or a lot of businesses don't realize, that your business is built on relationships.
100%.
And that every customer that you have, every client that you have is the most important client.
Yes.
And not making them think that, but making them believe it.
No.
And treat
it has
them.
to be that way.
That's right.
So, by the way, all of our our clients have our cell phones. They text me, I text them,
Right.
we email, our system, all of it. I am in constant contact. If they need something, we're the decision makers, right? If we can help them, we try to help them take advantage of opportunities as they come. And once they hit that level and plateau and pay us down, many of them stay with us because they said, Dave, you are the cheapest insurance we've ever had. No covenants. We're not going to kick you out. Back when 1985, that's, again, I was in the industry in 81. And I did a commercial for a little company at the time. It was BFI. And I said, banks give you umbrellas for rainy day and then ask for them back when it begins to rain. We let you keep the umbrellas. And that's really true.
Yeah.
I always tell our clients, we take good news well, we take bad news well, we don't take no news not very well at all.
Right.
Right? Just let me know what's going on. Even if you don't have the answers, right? Let us try to help you. We might have seen it before, but no news is bad news because then we can't assess our risk. So I can't go as far as we normally do with people unless it's kind of an open kimono, transparent relationship.
Well, and businesses need to understand when they have a relationship with a lender or a consultant that if you're having a problem, the sooner you let them know, the better your chances of getting that turned around.
Absolutely.
And you can't, don't let the lender know that we're having a tough time because then, you know what I mean? That's and I understand that with a big bank.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want them to know because, they're just going to say, okay, we're going to call the loan now. But and from what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding is that Pacific Coast Capital is more of a lender/consultant than just a lender, because you become partners with that business to help them grow. And do you find, or have you found that there are those businesses that just want the money and don't want your help?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, business can be relationship or transactional.
Right.
And I consider it our job to take a transactional relationship and make it a more beneficial relationship with us and take on that role, right? And become a business partner with them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I would say, since we got at Pacific Coast Capital, we primarily do relationship lending. So I'm not trying to set the world on fire, right?
Right.
All we want to do is help all the people that we can possibly help. And so if it's, we don't have to be everything to everyone. And so that's another point. Lenders tend to try to do every deal and try to put your business and business needs in a box.
Right.
We try to get you to the right place. I can't tell you the number of times I know what you're looking for, but you can get more money from this source, right? So if you're not growing, but you need to put in a bunch of plant and equipment, an SBA loan, long-term, low interest, right? That's the right solution. I'm not going to try to do your deal. I'm going to refer you to a place that will do your deal correctly.
I understand that completely, because that's how I work here. It's like I have people that come in the door, they want to do their show here, or they want to do, I do video production and commercials and all that other stuff as well. And I know if it's going to be a good fit.
Right.
And if it's not going to be a good fit, I give them a list of names and numbers that I think would be a better fit. Because if I'm going to have to deal with you on a daily basis or a weekly basis, I want it to be beneficial for both of us. Right. I want it to be a positive experience. I want you to walk in that door and go, I'm really glad I'm here. Yes. And I want to go, I'm really glad you're here. I don't want to go, oh God, not this guy again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe I'm old enough now that I can get away with that.
You can invoke the life's too short for
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we do that too.
But it's more the quality of life than it is the quantity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe you aren't the right fit. Maybe they want to go to a large studio, right? Maybe they don't. Maybe they should not do what they're doing. So if I believe if we can get a business to the right place, and in consulting, it's like sometimes it's okay. Maybe you can consider bringing somebody in on your costing or on your production or on your financial analysis. It's really hard to manage what you can't measure.
Right.
And so I ran a business for 17 years before I bought it, right? I'm a little slow. And I put people on board, former clients who had succeeded, greatly. And they says, Dave, you need to measure this, this, and this. And I go, it's absolutely impossible. And 2 years later, I was measuring it. I learned too.
Well, and that's it. We don't have all the answers.
No.
And somebody else might have a better answer.
Right.
And we all benefit from that.
I believe so, yes.
Because if you're a successful business, that helps my business be successful.
Absolutely.
Right? Because
Absolutely.
you're putting money out. The people that work for you are putting money out into the economy.
Yep.
They're going out there buying shoes for their kids, or they're going to the movies or whatever. And that stimulates the economy, which is going to make it better for me. Because my clients are then going to have money that they can spend with me, that I can then go out into the community, and
I love it.
And that's what I think a lot of people miss.
I think so.
The stock market, in my opinion, just my opinion. So send your cards and letters to WWDBTV.com. The stock market is not an indication of how the economy is doing.
I'd agree with that.
It's an indication of how some very wealthy people and some people who own stock are doing.
Absolutely.
And that's good. I mean, it helps.
Right.
But the middle class, working class, whatever you want to call them, those are the people that run this economy.
Yes.
And when they're doing well, we're all doing well.
Amen, brother. I'm going to tell you that. So I'm
not running for office. Okay.
You should be.
No more calls. I'm not running.
You should be, because.
But I'm smarter than that.
I figured you are. But so we have a cross section of different types of business. To your point, when our portfolio clients are doing well, I have a lot of confidence in the economy.
Yeah.
Because it's not in the Fortune 1000 businesses. It's in all the various small and middle market businesses.
It's not Boeing, GM,
Right. Tesla. No.
It's the mom and pop pizza place on the corner.
100%.
It's the dry cleaners. It's the guy who has the little restaurant over here.
Absolutely.
So
it's, and so you could really get a feel for what's happening.
Right.
Now, if I was smart, I'd be able to take that information and apply it to the stock market, but I don't understand the stock market.
I don't want to understand the stock market because to me, and I don't mean to sound egotistical when I say this, maybe I am. I know that every dollar I have in my pocket, I worked for and I earned.
Yes.
Some of it was easy, some of it was hard. I wasn't using other people to make my money.
Right.
Well, a little bit I am,
right.
but they're getting something in return.
Of course.
It's not monopoly money.
Right.
That I never see. It just gets traded back and forth.
Right.
And,
Right. But let's talk about when you were in the construction, right? Your people, you were only as good as your people.
My people were the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Because even the guy who just is sweeping up the job site at the end of the day to keep it clean is just as important as the electrician or the plumber or anybody else. Because that guy's sweeping up and cleaning the job. When OSHA comes to my job site tomorrow and sees that I have a clean job site,
right.
I got a much better chance of passing any inspections. And if he comes out to the job site and it's dirty and there's crap laying around on the floor and stuff like that, he's going to be looking for everything. So that man is just as important as I am running the job.
Wow.
And you when you people start understanding that everybody that works for you, with you, when you go to the restaurant and the guy or the woman that's bringing you the food, hey, they're just like you. They're working their butts off and they are not your servants.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Anyway, never mind.
It's funny. So when I started,
I'm not starting my own church either.
Amen.
Amen, brother.
Okay. So when I started as an auditor in '81, I that's what I used to do. You talk to the management team and the accounting people, and then I'd go out in the back and I'd have a smoke and a Coke with the people, shipping and receiving and production when they're on their breaks.
They know everything.
You know more about the organization.
Yep.
Because that's where the rubber meets the road. You can tell a story in the front office, but what's happening in your back shop?
Right.
That's what I want to know.
They're the people that are out there every day.
Yes.
They're dealing with the clients. They're dealing with the vendors. They're dealing with everybody
Right.
on a regular basis, and their interactions. And yeah.
One of the other things I always look at is how do business owners or management team treat people they don't think they need anymore?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you don't take care of your people and you have turnover, or you do things with vendors or customers to take advantage of them, I believe it always comes back.
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
But most entrepreneurs, hardworking geniuses at their businesses, they do everything to take care of their people, and they usually pay their people at their own expense.
Right.
They're the last to get paid.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
You feel it. And those are the people that we bleed for. We love entrepreneurs who are fighting. So 100 years ago in 83, I joined a little tiny company. And on the wall were these hideous bumblebees. I asked the owner, I go, what are those bumblebees? He goes, that represents an entrepreneur. I go, what do you mean? He goes, the bumblebee is so constructed that it cannot fly, but the bumblebee doesn't know that, so it flies. He goes, Dave, that's what entrepreneurs are. They have to be invincible.
That's a perfect analogy, because I always say I am too stupid to do what I do here. There is no way in hell I should be doing this.
Right.
If you had told me 15 years ago that this is what I would be doing, I go, there is no way. You are nuts.
Right.
And even when I had the idea and I told people I was going to be doing this, they're going,
right,
you ain't got a chance, John.
I love it.
Yeah. And it was just, it's something that I'm passionate about. I love what I do. And so it's not a job.
Right.
It's not a business.
Right.
This is my enjoyment. This is my life. And I love that. So
that's why I don't want to retire. I love helping people succeed. Yeah. And I've had people start up, with not much and make tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. A company Leapfrog that did the phonic learning game.
Right.
Our kids were 5 and 3 and they tested it at home, and we got the first sample and we PO financed the first order. And in 2002, there, Mike Woods ringing the bell as the most successful IPO.
Yeah.
Right. And I always ask the question, if I was so smart, why am I not rich? You understand? Because they killed it. Yeah. And Mike, actually, when I bought my business, he invested a few bucks with me as well.
Oh, cool.
And I got to tell you, you're the people who are betting on you, right?
Yeah.
And so we had note holders. So we did it with debt. I'm in the debt circle, and as soon as you can, you want to eliminate that. But we had a lot of patient note holders. And I'll just tell you one more story. And It's a Wonderful Life. I could not watch that show, because when I was growing my business, somebody could ask, a note holder could say, I need my money. I go, but it's in this business and that business and that business, and that's what we've done with it, right? And people say, oh, Dave, you're successful. I go, I don't know, owing people $100 million doesn't feel very successful to me. Right. I'm like, no. When you pay them back, then you feel pretty good about yourself.
Right.
And that's part of the reason I sold out to the bank. It's, I'm not smart enough to keep doing that forever, So we did our best, and we had the great team, and just like your businesses, right? It's all about people, and you don't have turnover, and you support them and take care of them.
Right.
And you develop that loyalty, and they give it back to you. They make things better than I could have even imagined or drawn up.
Yeah.
And it really is. No one does it on their own. And again, entrepreneurs, you look and see how much turnover their business has. If they have a lot, that's a really high cost in today's world.
Yeah.
It's a really high cost. So
let me ask you this. What is the favorite part? What do you love most about what you do?
Wow. Well, I love going out to visit the business and see what somebody's created. I love that. I just absolutely go there. You get a feeling. You can feel the energy within the
Right.
building. You can see it. And then you're priest, rabbi, and counselor, right? You come in there and there's no buy-in. So they're willing to tell you what's really going on and why they have a need or an opportunity.
Right.
And you get to share that with them, unbridled. Love that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's as good of a feeling as the one when people sell their business and become or pay us off out of profits and become uber successful. You know, there are two sides to it. You have to do the first to get the second. But I got to tell you, I am so proud to watch businesses become so successful that they can move on. And by the way, if I'm no longer the right solution for them, I will introduce them to the next one. Now go to the bank.
It's like your kids growing up.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
And so, there are babies, and we stay in touch with them. And, you go through it, and we stay in touch with former clients that we've had who we were in the trenches together. And they'll say, oh my gosh, I thought we were dead right here, And I mean, so we had to figure it out together, and you just do the very best you can to help them.
Yeah.
And, most businesses have a reason to exist. On the odd chance when they don't, I like them to deal with that too. Do the best you can and stay real. And if you do that, good things will happen to you.
What's the part you hate?
When businesses fail. Businesses fail. We're not liquidators. It doesn't happen often. But we were talking, you opened by asking me about growing that business.
Right.
I'll go back many, many years to a pipe hanger company. And they were here and they were dominating the small business market. And they leveraged up and they hit the big players. And the big players cut the cost and drove them out of business. Because guess what? They could sell at no margin for a year.
Yeah.
But Bud Clement, he couldn't.
Yeah.
And so.
And I've seen that happen more than once.
Yes, it does happen.
Right. Because they can afford to take the loss for a year or two.
Yes.
And you can't.
To take the business, they try to take the business out early.
Yeah.
Before it becomes a problem.
Right.
And so that's the toughest part of the business. I will tell you that. So I used to have a book of referrals, and some of them were businesses that didn't make it.
Right.
Because what do you do then? The easy thing for me to do is give me my money, please.
Right.
The right thing to do, make sure the payroll's paid, make sure everybody gets out, make sure the customers get as much of their orders and their materials that they need, and their tooling and their anything that they've had, make sure the vendors are taken care of to the best of everyone's ability. Do the right thing. It's the longer, harder path, but it's the better one. Because if a business doesn't make it, that entrepreneur has to go out and do something else.
And that's what I was going to ask you too. When that business fails, that entrepreneur is going to do something else.
Yes.
And when he needs help, where's he going to go?
Me.
That's exactly right.
Right. And I've used, and people who've gone through it, I had a steel company where the steel prices turned on against them. And, he said, look, I'm not going to be able to continue. He ran it down. Everybody got their money. And he used me as a reference to become a CEO of a bigger steel company.
Nice.
And it's right. If you're doing the right thing, your credibility will always help you go on beyond that. And people, entrepreneurs, businesses, you can trade off your credibility. You treat people well and you get jammed and you tell them what's going on and you tell them how you're going to fix it. They will work with you. Now, if you try to ignore it, you don't take their calls, you don't tell them what's going on, you're not letting them assess their risk, they're going to try to bury you. So what you do when you get in trouble matters. How you treat people matters. Doing business well to the highest standard will help you succeed. I know that. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of cases. I've financed over 1,000 different businesses in my career.
Wow.
And it's guaranteed to help you.
The phrase that I hate hearing more than anything else, and I've heard it a lot, I'm sure you have too, is it's not personal, it's just business. And to me, that is the worst thing that you can say. because it is personal. It's personal for everyone in that company.
Right.
And it affects them.
Right.
And the business is an abstract.
Yes.
We're dealing with people.
Yes.
And that's what a business is. A business is their people and everything that they do, and their families, and their neighborhood, and the locale that they live in. So
yeah, it is always personal.
yeah,
I mean, people aren't going to be able to feed their families. They might get kicked out of their place. A supplier who unwittingly walked into a problem could potentially lose their business.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people can lose their jobs because of it. It's always personal.
Yeah.
And the other one, right behind that one, is it is what it is. Okay, it's not my responsibility. Or how about this one?
Right.
I didn't sign up for that. Oh yeah, you did. if
other duties as required, right?
Right. I mean, it's just that simple. You've taken on that responsibility, and you have to marshal that. Everyone is counting on you. Being a business owner is a huge responsibility. It matters. Your people's lives, those payrolls, that's not a joke. When I tell my companies, I go, look, I've had to make payrolls. I've running a finance company, I was running tight on cash at times too. The same problems that they go through, I've already gone through.
Right.
And most of them aren't fatal.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's like you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and then, okay, what's my next step? Where do I go now?
That is so.
Hopefully that's what you do. Yeah.
I think that was the message to our two daughters. I said, it's not getting knocked in the dirt. It's getting up and walking forward.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what matters.
I had 100 years ago, I worked for the Riverside County Housing Authority.
Oh, nice.
And I ran their home improvement program. You're familiar with community development block grants?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the community development block grants. One of the programs we had was we went into the lower income areas and helped these people fix up their house, bring them up to code.
Love it.
And I ran that program for the whole of Riverside County. And my boss at the time, and I forget exactly what happened. We had a setback that was pretty serious. It had nothing to do with us. It had something to do with HUD or something. I think it was right when Reagan got elected, that time period.
Gotcha.
And, my boss called me in the office and he goes, John, there's something wrong with you. And
What?
I said, Ted, what do you mean? And he goes, how come you never react when you get knocked down? And I mean, because we thought that the whole program was going to be scrapped. It turns out it didn't. And I said, well, Ted, I said, I can lay down and cry like a baby, or I can get up and just, hey, figure it out.
Right.
One way or another, we're going to make this work.
Right.
If we can't do this, we'll do this. If we can't do that, we'll do this. And it's just, and if you're going to give up, then you don't even need to be here.
I love it.
What's the reason for being here? And he hated me. Well, he was the old school.
I do
and
understand.
He was one of those people that, and I mean, this was actually his philosophy. I am not going to make a decision on this until I have no decisions left, and this is only all I can do. And that was so he could go to the board of supervisors and say, I didn't have a choice.
Right.
Well, you did 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But anyway.
How about that? Not making a decision.
I love you, Ted.
Not making a decision is making a decision.
Yeah.
Deer in headlights always get run over.
Yeah.
Do something. Pick a side. Move forward. Make things happen. Talk to people. Rely on others, because you didn't do it by yourself. And if you're going to try to get through it, you're not going to be able to do it alone either.
Yeah.
But deal with it. Let everyone know what's going on in your life. I love it. And your business. That's
Cool.
great.
I want to take a minute too and thank you. For those of you who don't know, Pacific Coast Capital is a sponsor of one of our shows here, The Gift of Giving. And I know that Stephen speaks very, very highly of you, and he is extremely appreciative of your support for his show.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
because what he's doing here in Southern Nevada is putting a spotlight on all of the local nonprofits, charitable organizations, and the little guys, not the big ones,
Right.
but the little ones that don't normally get that kind of exposure. And that's one. It's my favorite show here. I think it's if we got rid of all the other shows, I would keep this place open just for that one.
I got to tell you, Stephen is absolutely amazing, and he is doing just blessed work.
Yes.
He and tireless, and all of the calls and everything he does, and you providing the venue. I've been one of
How
his,
could I not?
Yeah, I've been one of his strong supporters
Yeah.
too. And it's like, I cannot believe how many lives he's touched. I mean, some of those shows, it has, even though we might not have that problem,
Right.
it touches my heart. I mean, you're talking about people's lives and going through things, and these and the charitable organizations that do the work on the ground level,
Yeah.
that affect people for abuse and illness and all kinds of things. It's amazing. I just absolutely love that. I wish that show would just continue to grow and prosper, and
We're working on it.
please,
Yeah.
please. That is
and
unbelievable.
It's one of the things that I like about it is that I think that it gives people hope. Even the ones that are watching the show that may not benefit from any of these organizations, I think it shows people that, hey, look at these people that are out there that are doing good things in our community to make this a better place.
Right.
And most of them, they're getting beat up. I mean, they're working their butts off.
Yeah.
They're not getting any money. It's all, most of them are run by volunteers, and they're not getting a salary, or,
Right.
there's a few that are, but most of them don't.
Yeah.
And they're out there every day trying to do something good for the members of our community. So,
It restores your faith in humanity.
yeah, it does.
Really,
Yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah.
It's just, people think it's a me world, and it can be.
Yeah.
But my gosh, when you see the people who do it, and these are the people that are getting up at 6 a.m. and like you say, they work long hours for
Right.
nothing and no appreciation, giving up the lives that they have. It's remarkable what they do, and they touch so many people's
Yeah.
lives. And
We get some good positive feedback from that show.
I love it.
And it's like, hey, it's just, how could you not support something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Like I said, I know Stephen, 100 years ago too, in the mid '80s, and then all of a sudden he's writing books, and now he's doing this. And I got to tell you,
he's a TV star.
yeah, no, this is the highest level of bringing to light organizations that can help people in need.
Yeah.
And those people, and I watch, and the people who are doing it are the most humble, contrite, and they do it. And I love, because he asked, why do you do that? And they do it because they love it, and they know they make a
Yeah.
difference for people. And that's just a wonderful thing. And thank you
You're welcome.
for handling.
Like I said, how could I not?
I know.
know?
But anyway, that's great.
I have a couple of other questions for you, and these
Go
are
ahead.
kind of personal questions, if you don't mind me getting personal. So I understand that not only are you, one of the managing partners of Pacific Coast Capital, but also, and I thought this was an interesting combination. You are a natural food and wine exporter.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose you can consider wine natural food because it's squash grapes, right?
It technically is.
Okay.
It technically is. Well, let me just tell you about that one.
Tell me about that one.
Yeah, we did that. So somebody comes to me and says, gosh, China loves American wine, right? And they can't get enough of it. So being the entrepreneur, foolish person, I said, well, maybe we can help. And so we went and we sourced some wine, and we opened up a Chinese corporation to be able to sell the wine. And then we blended wine, which was really a lot of fun. And for the Chinese palate, and we started shipping it in there. We had some natural organic food products, and everything was going great. But remember, I think I told you about we all have a must have a reason to exist.
Yes.
And sometimes good things or bad things happen to good people. When Trump put the tariffs in, we had our wine and all our natural food. And we're a Chinese corporation. We have the right to get it out of customs. They let it rot. How about that? And so we no longer have that business.
Oh, wow.
But I got to tell you, it was fun. We went down to multiple places, in southern China, and we were bringing them in by, the cargo loads,
But that's a brilliant idea.
Great idea.
I mean, that is the ultimate perfect example of an entrepreneur. Oh, wow. There's a niche. I got to fill that.
Sometimes you just wish you could just say no, but
yeah,
right. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And just like that, there are times. Do I regret it? Absolutely not. But you have to understand and I've not done international business before, that the politics of the world and the way things are run are beyond your control.
Yeah, I used to. We used to get a lot of stuff out of China, furniture and stuff, when we were building timeshares and things. And so, yeah, it is. There's a lot there.
There's a ton.
There's a ton there, it's. I'm going to get a little bit political here. Send your cards and letters. You know where to send it. People talk about immigrants.
Yes.
Who picks your food?
Right.
Right?
Right.
They are hardworking people.
Yes.
This country was built on immigrants.
Yes.
The Italians, the Irish, the Jews, all of us come from some other place.
Right.
So when you start picking those people apart, I mean, I've got like 5 or 6 different ethnicities within me. My ancestors.
Yes, of course.
Irish, English, German, French, Welsh. So anyway, never mind. It's.
Again, things outside of our control.
Never mind.
But that's great. But it's great, so it's.
No, that's not true. It is not out of our control.
It's not?
Absolutely not.
Okay, why?
And I'm going to tell you why. November 5th.
Oh.
Vote.
I stand corrected.
Vote.
I stand corrected. It
That's
is
right.
Definitely within our control.
And that's what they want us to believe. Our vote doesn't count.
Right.
There's nothing we can do.
You're absolutely
That's what
right.
it is. It is what it is, right?
Oh, our favorite phrase.
Okay. And I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You vote your conscience, but get out there and vote, because it does matter.
It does
how
matter.
many races here in Nevada were decided by 15, 20 votes?
Wow.
And so, and when you vote all the way down the ballot.
Right.
The dog catcher, your city councilman, those people are more important in our everyday lives than anybody at the federal level.
Right.
Because the judges, the cops, all of these people affect us on a daily basis.
Right.
So get out there and vote. Sorry, that's one of my pet
By the
peeves.
way, I love that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And if you stop believing.
That's what breaks my heart when I see people that say, well, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right.
Well, then why are people trying to prevent you from voting?
Right.
If your vote doesn't count, why are there so many efforts to keep people from voting?
Gotcha. I love it.
If it didn't count. Anyway, so we're going to cut the last 15 minutes out of this show.
No, leave it. That's
no,
great.
I'm not. I don't do that unless we do something really stupid. So, but so, I mean, it sounds to me like you're extremely passionate about what you do.
Absolutely.
Are there any? I mean, do you have like a next step or a, this is what I want to do now. I want to do this next, or this is my, next step in my evolution.
Wow. Well, I tried the wine and natural food and pet food products.
Wait, pet food products?
That was also with the China
Oh,
thing,
okay.
And I did a little software, right? And I'm working with, in order to become more productive, I had to build a cloud-based system. I built one in the early 2000s, and then in the like 2014, I built a second one in conjunction with someone, and I got out of that business, and I might be working a little bit more because the productivity and efficiency of a system helps the lenders like myself be able to operate, give us better information, give our clients better information, and help them to be able to navigate their businesses. So I might be spending a little time with that again.
Cool.
And I think the next iteration for us in Pacific Coast Capital and my partners is at some point, maybe we start doing some potential investing in businesses. Somebody likened us to the Shark Tank, without taking equity.
Yeah.
Right? We go, they can't get the money they need from the bank. So they sit down and we talk to the business owner and we hear what's going on. And if we can help them use, our money profitably and fill that inside straight, we make them a loan. Sometimes we have to say, we can't do it because you need another slice of debt or equity.
Right.
So the natural one, and we're discussing it, we're not doing it now, but it would seem to make sense if we put a little piece of equity into some businesses going down the line. That might be the next iteration for us.
That's cool.
But we're not doing it yet. We're just blocking and tackling and just getting paid.
Plan your work and work your plan. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But to your point, you always have to look at what's next.
Yeah. So you mentioned software. Any ideas on AI?
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Okay.
Love it. Okay. So back in 2005, I was trying to put business rules. So there's certain things like, okay, if aging is their spread of receivables are deteriorating, or if there's losses or they're using more have less availability, there are certain things that we should bring to our attention. And so I tried to do it. And when we built it without AI, it clogged email boxes. I only picked 10 items. Okay, pick 10 items to try to go and say, okay, these are things that are meaningful in our business that I look at every day.
Right.
And without AI, I can't do it. So the next thing in the software business is to take it. That's the machine learning is the important thing.
Right.
Okay, this is important. Why? This is not important. Why? It's the same flag, but there's a difference.
Right.
Without that AI, so I'm not going to use AI in a huge way. It's going to learn the difference between meaningful and not as meaningful.
Right.
FinTech is trying to do that right now. I went to a couple of conferences, 5-6 years ago, and they talk about different iterations of it. It's really hard to build something if you don't come from the lending background to begin with, I believe.
Absolutely.
So I think when I look at the FinTech systems to date, they seem to be not married to how I manage my business every day. And so I think if I can take a little bit of AI and help me discern what really is an issue or a flag, I think we'll even be better. Because like I say, if we can bring to attention to our clients what's going on with their business,
right,
it's a huge advantage for them. Hey, we've noticed this. Hey, I noticed that this customer used to pay you in 30 days. Now they're paying you in 55. Did you notice that? They're getting their money,
right,
they're running their business, they're growing their business. I didn't notice that. What's going on? Are they having problems?
Right.
So we'll check their credit. Have they decided to change the terms on you without telling you? That affects, their cash flow, all of those things. So they don't have to be earth-shattering, but there are a lot of little measurements that can be done. And I think AI can be an integral part of that within the financial service software.
As long as we have the controls over it and the oversight,
Exactly.
I guess might be the word. I mean, I use AI to help me with some of my editing and some of the software things that I do. But the other side of that is I need to know whether or not what I'm being presented with is right.
Right.
And so it's just it's a tool for me, like a calculator.
Thank you.
Instead of the old adding machine, now I can do the calculator. Well, I use AI in the same respect, and I think that it can be an extremely valuable tool, just like anything else, as long as we are careful in how we use it.
By the way, it is a tool.
Yeah.
And it has to be managed as a tool. If you want AI,
and you have to put your tool away when you're not using it.
Right. And you better know what, who has access to that information.
Yeah.
There's legislation and controls and protections always follow.
Yeah.
They trail, they lag. It scares me a little bit. People are willing to turn over, their businesses or beliefs and how they operate, use like AI is some kind of savior.
Yeah,
it's
not.
Tool.
It's a tool.
That's right. And it has to be managed.
And if you don't know anything about math, a calculator is useless. Right?
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So anyway. So is there anything else that you'd like to cover before we wrap this up?
Yeah, thank you for asking. One last
That's why you're here.
One last thing. We do business loans throughout the Western United States. We make loans on people who do sales of 5 million to 100 million. Our loans start at 250,000 and we go up to 5 million. So we're covering the small portion of the business world, and it's business B2B, as I like to call it.
Right.
So we don't finance the consumer businesses that get paid cash. Right. So that dry cleaner, we're not going to be able to finance you.
Right.
The gas station, we're not going to be able to finance you. The machine shop, I want to finance you. The staffing company, I want to finance you. The distributor of materials, we want to finance those businesses. That's kind of what our niche is. We cover, like I said, the Western United States, and we do that for a reason, because we're relationship lenders, and we want to be able to get up and back to our homes in one day, so that we don't postpone having important business meetings with our
makes sense
with our companies.
Of course.
Now Zoom and all of those different things can help, but it's still not the same.
You can't beat the face-to-face.
No, and you cannot, and you can't walk around the place.
Right.
It's completely different, and technology doesn't replace the human touch and people. So yeah, that's what we do. If it comes down to it, and if you want to ever give us a call and you're looking for financing, even if we can't help you, my promise will be we will try to get you to the right place, the best place for your business.
And where can people get a hold of you? How can they contact you?
WWW Pacific Coast CAP.com.
Okay.
I will take your call. Thank you.
Cool. So there you have it. You guys need money. You mentioned a couple of things. I'll talk to you after the show here. But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you need some money, this is the guy to call. If you need some help with your business, this is the guy to call. So like I always say, if you're going to do it with styles. Thank you.
Thank you, John.